Hi, my name is Björn. I'm co-CEO at Resolution and I'm happy to present you today the top 10 management mistakes and how to avoid them. Have fun! Project management is a high pressure type of work. We all make mistakes, but project manager mistakes are very visible. That may not make you the most popular and beloved person in the room, but will place you in a great position to learn from experience and stop doing what doesn't work. I've been there myself. I've managed big IT projects for many years and I have seen project fails for every type of reason. Let's go over my top 10 mistakes. Not all are from me, and hopefully that they will help you and help to avoid them in the future. First of all, it's important to understand the natural law of project management, the magic triangle. There are many versions of it, but overall it follows the same logic. In the middle, I have my objectives, the project goal. On the sides, I have time, resources and budget, scope or features. For example, a project can be completed faster by increasing budget or cutting scope. Similarly, increasing scope may require the equivalent increasing budget or schedule. And cutting budget without adjusting schedule or scope will influence the objective, mostly quality. In practice, that's not always true. For example, when you're throwing money at a fully staffed project, that can have no effect. But in general, it's good to understand changes in one corner will have an effect on the others. Let's jump to the top 10 mistakes. Number 10, unclear project objectives. Never, let me say it again, never ever explain a project to anybody who's involved in it too quickly. Whatever's missing from your quick explanation will be reconstructed from their imagination. They will borrow it from their experience with similar projects. They will immediately forget that they made it up, and it will most likely be wrong. So remember, every time you describe a new project, take your time and do a proper meeting with everybody involved. Go through the essentials. Details in the objectives and also all constraints. Get it all in writing and publish it on a Confluence page or in another tool. Make sure that the Confluence page is read from people and ask questions to them. Did anybody miss a meeting? Share the Confluence page and ask questions to see if they have understood it. Only now you can start working. But be also aware that different stakeholders could have different objectives. Try to get the knowledge about every hidden object and politics always happens. The easiest way to figure this out, ask all stakeholders following question. When is this project a success for you? And what will the success look like? This is often ignored and forgotten. I guess you all know this comic. There is a small version, a big version, and many different versions for different project types. But do you know that this comic exists since the 70s? Still a hot topic. Unclear project objective. Number 9, poor communication. Let me explain a bad example. Maybe some of you know it. I'm from Berlin. For a year and a bit, we have a new airport. The best example of German engineering and project management. The opening was planned for October 2010. I had already flight tickets starting from this airport when they decided to reschedule the opening. The communicated reason was problem with fire protection. Over the years and after tons of consultants, they figured out they need to fix 11,519 problems. The communication between all project managers was simple chaos and in most cases not happened. And the best fail? They had escalators from the underground station to the main terminal and they were too short. 3 to 4 steps had to be added afterwards. The main problem here was communication, because one party was not aware what the other party was doing. So it means 10 years of planning, 4 years planned project time, plus 10 years bug fixing, plus 5 billion additional euro costs to the original plan, and mostly the reason lack of communication. So yeah, some people think project management is just a technical job, but that's wrong. I would say it's a people's job. I have to communicate a lot. I can't be shy or lazy about communication anything important, especially when it comes to bad news. Don't keep them to yourself. That will only make things worse. And once they get out of hand, people will wonder, why didn't he tell us? Of course, you need to know how to communicate bad news and good news. Communicate bad news and motivate the team that they feel they can still make the goal when this is reality. Communicate good news without putting anyone in their comfort zone too much. A project manager is also a good coach. Get people motivated and committed and make them trust each other. Number 8. No clear processes. Don't let the tool replace your processes, and don't let the process be something random. If you're doing Agile, you will need a Scrum Master. If you're doing constructions like a house, then you need traditional waterfall. Whatever it is, be consistent and don't change midway. And if you work in an organization with dozens of projects, then the lack of processes becomes a black hole, and this will swallow. You can't ask different project managers to share their process or progress. You can't compare, you can't analyze, and you definitely don't know what's going on in the organization as a whole. Number 7. Unsorted, massive hidden, unmaintained critical work. Okay, so if you have ever worked Agile, you will know this. Any task that's too big needs to be broken in smaller pieces. That's true. When something seems scary in terms of effort, you just need to start with the smaller part of it. But a lot can still go wrong when you have that list. The first thing that can go wrong, you may assign work that's not critical and stop your team from completing something more important instead. So make sure to prioritize everything. Flag every critical piece as such, flag anything unimportant, or simply remove nice to haves entirely. The second thing that can go wrong, it's not enough to break down the work. You need to put the puzzle back together. Make sure that you get dependencies right and that your team feels responsible for the deliverable as a whole and not just for their small piece. And the third thing that can go wrong, you are not tracking every task in a central location. It doesn't matter how hard you try, there will be a missing piece in the puzzle. So you will be asking everyone for updates, files, financial data, and many more. You need a centralized tool like Jira or others. Number 6, one value for your team skill set and no learning lessons. I personally don't think that's important to have the best talent in the world. Sure, you need smart people who know to do their job, but an inexperienced team can get a great length with the proper coaching. So what's really important is to learn lessons. Every project has a ton of them, potentially. Transforming a mistake or a success into a learned lesson doesn't happen magically. You need to make a post-mortem analysis or in the project. Look back to the project, be honest, and dig into what failed and why, or what went well and why. This is a kind of meeting that's often cancelled. Fight for them. Learned lessons will make you stronger and your team. And there is a reason why the three-string comic is still present after 50 years. Missing learning lessons. Number 5, not getting buy-in. Project managers are like coaches of a football team, so they can design a plan, tell it to others how they should play, but they don't play themselves. They need the players, and they need them to be motivated. But they are also they also need the executive to be invested in whatever you're trying to accomplish. Only then you can get the best players for their tactics, good trainers, and whatever other resources. Don't play alone. Get everyone excited about the project and make sure that they follow your plan and trust in the success of the project. Missing management buy-in can risk a complete project. Number 4. Risk, not taking risk management seriously. Does risk management sound abstract for you? It's not. Risks are real, too real. Take Murphy's Law. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. Let Murphy's Law guide you to prepare for the worst. And when shit hits the fan, you will have a plan, you just have to switch on. Imagine the face of your team when you say, okay, my worst fear has happened, but we are prepared for it, and this is what's going on today. Example from my private life. I bought a house last year and we did a couple of renovations. One task was to drill 5 holes for steel stakes in the floor, some fireplace, static stuff, not important. What was the risk? Hitting a heating system water pipe in the floor and having a fountain in the living room. What would be the solution when it happens? Turn off the water, open the floor, repair water pipe, repair the floor. What was my plan to avoid it? I spent hours studying old photos of the water pipes, measured distances a lot. I rented a thermal imaging camera for 300 euros and spent 2 days trying to identify the pipes. What happened? At the 5th hole, I hit the water pipe. I knew how to shut down the water. I had the phone number from my heating expert and he fixed it at the same day for 25 euros, and fixing the floor and repairing the floor was another 2 hours. So risk management can be a chance to find alternatives for a complex task. In the end, my risk plan was better, faster, and cheaper than my original idea. So don't over-engineer it. Create a list of potential risks in your project. Come up with a simple action plan in case these risks become reality. And that's fine. In some cases, you will find out that the risk is so massive that the whole project should be reviewed. And you should ask the question if it really makes sense to do the project, especially when you risk your whole business, company, human health, or other things. That are clear signs for not doing the project. Number 3, scope creep and poor estimates. No estimate is right if you do the wrong things, or if you do the right things, but in the wrong order. So that's why poor scheduling is one of the worst project management mistakes. Next example from my house project. As I said, we had a lot of things to do. So demolition of the existing old interior, defining, creating 2 new bedrooms, new flooring, new colors on the wall, changes in room layout, a new fireplace, refurbishing the kitchen, a pool in the garden, new outside color, new window frame color, and so on, and many more. I documented my estimates and projects in a Trello board. Time frame for all projects together, 3 months. You could imagine what happened. Every project was underestimated, but this is the next point. And I did things sometimes in the wrong time and in the wrong order. Ordering a new TV to a construction site simply means you will move this TV 100 times because it's disturbing the progress and process. So it simply means first things first, and calculate with the buffer between the milestones. Plan with the unplanned and understand the critical paths in your project. An older project management method is really cool for it. Precedence diagramming method, short PDM. In a nutshell, you define for every task your earliest start time, earliest finish time, latest start time, latest finish time, duration, and the float. Scheduling tasks depending on their chronological order and define relationships between the tasks. So this needs to happen based on finish to start. Activity A has to finish completely before activity B can start. Or start to start. Activity B has to start together with activity A. Or finish to finish. Activity B must be finished with activity A, or start to finish activity B, finish as soon as activity A starts. A little bit complicated. Try it, you find it on YouTube. All this information together will show you in a diagram your critical path, the maximum project duration and the right order and duration for all the steps. It's not agile, but it's really helpful. Number 2, underestimating time and budget. I'm the master underestimator. Like, I'm really good at it, perhaps because I'm mostly an optimist. And my team knows it. So I always throw an extra 50 to 80% to what I initially estimated, and that's not my buffer. Example, in my previous job, we run up to 400 simultaneous customer projects at the same time with a European team of close to 300 engineers. It is always difficult to balance a project, especially when you need to sell it first to a customer or internally. Planning with a budget which covers all potential problems from time and budget perspective will often mean you will lose the project or you don't get an approval for it. Also, changing scopes is not always what stakeholders like at the beginning of a project. And on the other side, salespeople tend to underestimate projects because then it's easier to sell it. How to balance it? That's not an easy question, and it depends on many things. For me, 3 behaviors works most successful. Plan with a buffer in time and budget. For projects that have already been done many times, roughly at 20-30%. For the first time projects, demand flexibility from the stakeholders. Make your problem to their problem as well. Transparency is gold here. This gives you the chance to make a realistic estimation or we don't know estimation, and the opportunity to extend time and budget if needed. Projects with a given scope in time and budget can be difficult, especially when you are acting as a service supplier in an RFP or in fixed projects. When you can't influence scope, time and material anymore, and you think the project execution will fail, please allow yourself to lose or not do the project. It will save you time, money, lifetime happiness and many more. And answering a customer not doing a project for the reason, it's always a bold move, but better lose a good project than win a bad one. And my top fail number 1, fail to change and know when to kill a project. The project is not the project plan. The project is what actually happens. And very often it will have nothing to do what was planned from the very start. And that's fine. But you need to recognize it up front and react to that. And sometimes it will mean that the project no longer makes sense. And then you have to kill the project. Knowing when to kill a project is one of the most important skills for a project manager. Example. Fire Festival.
All these models, like in the Bahamas.
The most insane festival the world has ever seen.
Island getaway turned disaster.
It became very barbaric.
Right now, you're on the fucking laughing stock of everything.
Just wait until you see what you're getting yourselves into.
American rapper Ja Rule is in the Bahamas with his business partner.
Billy McFarlane
is an amazing entrepreneur.
He can convince anyone of pretty much anything.
They just bought an island.
Pablo Escobar's island. Oh my gosh.
Ding! We're gonna throw a festival, yeah.
Within 48 hours,
They sold out. These guys are either completely full of shit or they're the smartest guys in the room. We were working around the clock, no sleep.
Billy's like, bring more workers. We need more workers.
Every single day it got more intense.
He just would not take no for an answer. And he just kept pulling money in somehow.
Desperate people do desperate things.
He was lying to investors.
So, and that's a bad example because here project management failed to become fraud. And this was then definitely too late. One of the biggest and a little bit funny fails happens on the Fire Festival project. The intention from Billy McFarland was to create one of the biggest and most exclusive rich kid festival on earth. Ticket pricing up to $12,000 for a weekend on an island, which was owned from Pablo Escobar in the past, with bands like Blink-182. It started with a good idea. A lot of famous investors, a project management party crew, nearly everything happened in this project. Lack of budget, change of the location, logistic problem, underestimating the effort, the wrong party crew, wrong team, selling more and more expensive tickets plus whip upgrades to solve budget problems, when it was already clear that the festival will be a complete fail. It ended in a complete disaster, court, jail and so on. I recommend the Netflix documentation. It's funny to see. Scope and project changes are normal. And there is a famous question, what happens to a project first? It changes. Project management and companies need to deal with it. Means functional change management need to be implemented. What's change management? First of all, it is documentation, communication and rescoping. Create a change request. Assess a change request in terms of impact on time, cost or quality. And can the change happen after the project, or is it really needed to be happen in the planned project? For an example, pool last month in my garden. After the hole was dug, it became clear that the planned amount of topsoil was not sufficient. 20 cubic meters were roughly planned, 100 cubic meters were needed. So that's the classic change which need to be happen in the project, because it makes no sense to do it afterwards. And remember on the magical triangle, it increased the cost. But many changes can also happen after the initial project. Very often in development of a new app, we have more and more ideas. But on some point, these ideas shouldn't be implemented in the first project, and it's better to execute these ideas in the next version to not risk the project goal. And this should be the question for changes. Is there a risk for the project goal? Is the project team capable to do this without risking the project goal? And is there an improvement in the project from this change? Projects with many problems and changes are often killed at some time because the goals are completely different or the budget and time exploded, like the Berlin airport. And the biggest mistake in this situation is to view backwards. Oh, we have already invested so much time, money and so on. No, you should look forward. What will it cost to finish the project? And if you don't like the answer, kill the project and restart. So I hope these 10 mistakes and how to avoid them was helpful for you. Enjoy the PM72 stream and see you next time. Thank you very much.